Okay. So I'm gonna go over and show you guys again. Right, cleaning up around the ears, doing that taper haircut really close. Makes me nervous too. So, like we did yesterday when I was showing the couple of you that were here, when you cut up around the ear, make sure that you're using your finger as your guard. Because what happened yesterday was I showed you that if you come around and you pinch, right, you're trying to get that hair pushed up out of the way. So you put your finger under to push this hair up, and what happens is the ear gets caught right between those two fingers, right? When you're going to do a men's cut, you don't want that ear showing between there, because what can happen? You could cut it, yeah. Hopefully we don't cut it all the way off, but maybe just a little cut. So what you want to do is, as you're combing that hair up to get it out of the way, you can see that I'm using my middle finger to place it as a little guide there, or a guard. And when I come in to grab the rest there, sometimes, like I said, this gets caught, the ear gets caught between them. So you really want to make sure that you're placing your finger there just to get the hair out of the way. Or sorry, the ear out of the way, so that it's safe, right? Men, when they're getting the haircut too, they're afraid, right? They're probably like, okay, my ears, right, they're there, those clippers, those scissors, it's really sharp, and makes them nervous. So you're combing up and under, and then you're coming in to cut. So what we've already done previously, right, is you come through and you've done your planar haircut where you went through and you've got that nice 90-degree angle straight out, so that you have your square, your planar means flat. And now you're going around the ears again. The haircut that we've done, that we've been practicing, leaves it a little bit shaggier, but like I said, you can have your client have really nice cleanup around the ears and the neckline. That's fine. If he wants it kind of long and shaggy, that's okay too. But just remember that you still need to go in and do your notch cutting around, right? So that you don't, I don't just see like a random stray hair. You want to make sure those are all cleaned up. So same thing around the neckline. You're taking the hair, you're over directing it. So what that means again, right, over directing, it's moving further than where it naturally lays. So combing, and then I'm cutting as well. And what do we never cut past? Second knuckle, right? So I'm pushing all that hair around, going down, and then you won't have to bend, right, because you can jack the guy up in the chair. Do you see how even that there, as I'm going down, I'm going to finish this last little part here, as close as my fingers can get, right? And then that's where you're more using your scissor over comb. Do you see how even just doing that creates that little bit more cleanliness in there? So we have this where you can kind of see that hairline a little bit more compared to this, where it's still kind of like rough and shaggy, right?
I like that.
Yeah, or really long, a little Wolverine cut. Okay, and same thing again with the sideburns. You can comb them back if it's still quite long. I'm going to say it's probably very rare that any of your men have this kind of beard coming in tomorrow, but if you ever do, right, you still want to keep that cleaned up. So I've pretty much gone in and I've cut as close as I can with my fingers and my scissors. So like I said, you're allowed to use your peanut, and you're going to do your clipper over comb technique. So just like we've practiced. So again, take your comb in there. I always like to use the wider teeth first before I get in with my finer teeth. So the wider teeth take out the what of the hair?
The bulk.
The bulk, yeah, good. So I'm coming in, I'm turning it on. I'm not just going to come in and give her straight across, right, because I still want to make sure that I'm not cutting too high. So I'm flipping my comb over and down, and I'm actually going to come in with a little half moon shape, because that's the shape of your ear. So that starts to take it out. I'm going to come in around. I'm actually placing the spine of my comb right against his head. And I'm taking that down and using comb control to over direct the hair. I'm putting straight up. Remember your clippers, if they touch you, it's not going to cut you, okay? If you drop your clippers a few times and don't keep them oiled, then sometimes they can snag on a person. And a lot of times guys will cut right up, right in that top part of your ear there. because you're trying to go around and really nice and close, and that's where they sometimes will feel a little nip. So just be careful when you're doing that. Or as you're dragging along their neck, if they're offset, they'll get a couple scratches. Like you'll see it go red and kind of scratchy, so you just want to watch that. So once you've taken most of the bulk out, you're going to use freehand, okay? People's ears bend, mannequin ears bend too, but not really well. So practice bending his ear, but just remember when you go to do a client, you're not going to use as much force, okay? So you don't want to like try and break their ear, so. So we're coming in, I'm going to bend it forward, and my finger creates that little bit of that guard. Some of them might be different, right? Some of our Sams have that lazy eye, so maybe some of their ears are a little stiffer. So I'm coming in, and I'm actually resting it close to their head. Some of this here, I just want to take a little bit more out because it's not moving as much as I want it to. So if you're afraid, go just over the top of the ear, and you're going to create this. Do you see the hollowness? Like, do you see how his ear is like sunk in there? So what do you think we have to do to this area up top? You could thin it, take down the bulk, but what does that mean? When we're taking the bulk out and creating closeness, tapering, yeah. So, well, it's like a graduated, right? Like, you can use that term as well, just as long as you know that with the graduated haircut, you can take that very bottom or wherever the section is that your closeness is, and that's more so that tapered cut. So you can use clipper over comb. Again, take out a little bit of bulk, right? We're just combing the hair out from where it lays, close by, and it's just creating that little bit of layering there. We don't want to alter our haircut anyway. We don't want to change it because we've already got it cut. We're just doing the cleanup on it. So cleaning up those edges. Creating that closeness. And I'm actually going to come in and go a little bit closer with my scissors. I'm going to borrow your water bottle. Practice this when you're doing your mannequins, right? Covering their ear. You don't want to spray it straight into someone's ear. It's not fun. Combing that down. So I'm going to come in under, again with my fingers, using them as the guard. Do you see all that hair that's still there that I can take? Make sure his head's on there straight. So I'm just coming in, I'm probably taking about, I'd say another 1/4 inch or so. And around. I'm going to come also in vertically the same way that I cut before. And what I'm doing is I'm also making sure that I'm blending it, right? You don't want to have really close and then this ledge happening. If you start to get a little bit of a ledge, like you guys were saying before, your thinning shears, that's a good opportunity to go in and take some of the bulk out as well. Because you don't want to alter the length a whole lot, but we need to get rid of some of that bulk. I'm just going to actually take a little bit more out of his sideburns and his beard here. Coming in with my fingers, they're pretty much like right against his head. And then it all depends too on how short or how long you cut the hair initially, right? So using my scissors, this is a tricky part. Tabby's had experience doing this with Lori, right? You're sometimes having to use your scissors to go around the ear to get rid of those little tiny pieces. Fold their ear down. What's one thing we talked about too in the nape area? If you want to get a really nice straight line, sometimes you have to do what with your shears? Yeah, rest them against the skin. So my bottom blade here is sitting against the hairline. Be careful, your guys' shears, these ones, your mannequin shears are rounded. Your People shears are pretty pointed. So you gotta be careful how you come in on that angle because you will cut them. So gently place it and then glide. And it's always good to tell the person, like, I'm gonna place my shears against your skin and I'm just gonna use it as a stabilizer to guide my shears around, okay? So that's what you wanna do for that. And then coming in a little bit tighter there. Okay. So I'm just gonna double check that I blended out enough. I can see, do you see here where it looks a little heavier? So that's where you blend it up and out. I really hurt my stomach. Girl.
Is it just weird as it?
He's got, that's where I cut the hair out, remember? When I was showing you with the razor? When I was doing the texture technique? How he's got his little bald spot? Yeah, so it does look like it. And do you notice how it pushes it out? So remember, with backcombing too, short pushes long. So the short hair is pushing this longer hair up, which is making that bald spot look a bit more prominent. I'm going to tell you a story too about, I had one male client, we learned a little bit about this, alopecia. Remember where there's hair loss and it's in a perfect little circle? Check your clients before you start cutting them, right? That's when you're doing your scalp analysis, your hair analysis. So, you know, Sam comes in, he sits down for his haircut and I'm ready to cut it. We've talked about it, so I'm actually just going to quickly run my hands through. This is going to also, by feeling the hair, what can I tell by feeling the hair about if I'm analyzing the hair in my head? Because remember, we don't always have that little piece of paper when we're in salons and writing everything down. So what do you think by the touch, what am I getting out of this? What part of the hair analysis am I checking out right now? Thick or thin, which is? Not density. Texture is the little strand itself. I probably will be able to feel like, oh, does it feel kinky? Does it feel pretty smooth? If I'm looking at it, yeah, they're pretty fine, or no, they look a little, like the strands look a little fatter, a little beefed up, right? So that's more coarse. And I can see, oh, okay, he's got a little bald spot going on here. If you notice the hair's cut really short, you could ask him about it and say, oh, did you know that you've got a bunch of short little hairs here? He might say, oh, it's growing back from alopecia, or oh, I slipped up with the razor, right, or something. So you never know. So that's something you want to watch, because I have one client, he's got alopecia right here. So I leave this long top hair a little bit longer to cover, but then I make sure it's texturized so it doesn't just look like this little bulk of hair that's hanging over. So as you guys are going through now, right, you're going to start analyzing that way too. So you're going to just feel that way, feel what's happening with the hair. And then, boom, your analysis is done. When you're going through, you can check for scalp conditions as well when you're working with clients and everything like that. But yeah, that little spot, unfortunately, I'm going to pick the other side to show. But now that I've ruffled up his hair, you can see the difference in a nice clean side cleaned up compared to it just kind of left, right? So your guy can have your taper cut with still a nice clean right around the ears, or you can leave it a little bit shaggier. That is totally your discretion. Talk to your client a little bit ahead, right? They are all aware that this is a model, so they're being a model, so they're getting the haircut that you're telling them. But, you know, you can talk to them a little bit and say, I'm taking off 2 inches, or maybe like Keisha's taking off like 10 inches, or maybe you're only taking off 1 inch because the hair's a bit shorter already and you're just going a little bit shorter. Okay? So, when we're done our haircuts, I've cut my section. Before I move on to the next section, what am I going to do before I move on from, say, this top section that I cut with my planer?
Check it.
Check it. And how do we check it?
Going the opposite way.
Yes, opposite way of what we comb. So we're combing back vertically, so we're checking horizontal. We're cutting vertical, we're checking horizontal this way. So combing it up and out and cutting. Remember yesterday I told you guys that usually when I end up doing a lot of my male clients, I still go through and cross-check, and I end up taking off quite a bit in here because I still want to have that nice close tapered look on the haircut. So you can take that back a little bit tighter because you don't want this happening, right? If this is the haircut that you're going to try and achieve really nice closeness, you don't want to leave the bulkiness right there unless that's everywhere. So remember symmetry in your haircuts too. Okie dokie. So I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and try one side, okay? Just one side, cut around the ear, use that closeness, use between your clippers, your scissors, and use between your styling comb and your barber comb. And I will get you all your shears.